you want to know what a nightmare is for a man. And I say this to people, and I've said this to black men, I've said this to white men, I've said this to everybody. I said, this is where real men come into play, where we all in this together. If you are a real man, you want to provide for your family. Mm-hmm. To those out there, you ain't a real man if you ain't thinking about providing for your family. You know what I'm saying? If you want to take all the money for yourself and you don't want to give nothing to anybody else and you want to leave everybody else hanging while you live the good life, that is not a man. A man provides. That's what men do when you have a family. Any man, I don't give a damn what ethnicity you are, when you have a concern as to how you're going to pay your bills,
scary time.
There is nothing worse.
Scary.
There is nothing worse.
Because then you don't feel like you can be a man.
That's right.
Right.
There's nothing worse. I don't care if you have a woman with money.
You still don't feel like you're a man.
You don't feel like you're a man.
Right.
Because it's like she could make $2 million a year.
No matter.
If you made $300,000 a year to her $2 million, you still okay.
Yes.
Because you know you could provide for you.
For the lifestyle.
And you could provide for a certain lifestyle. Maybe not the lifestyle her salary gives you,
right.
But it ain't like you on the street.
Right. You're buying food, you're paying for rent, you can travel.
You're fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to make as much as her or whatever. But when you cannot provide
at all,
it is no worse feeling on the planet. That is as close to death. Spiritually, as I've ever felt in my life, with the exception of losing my mother.
Wow.
Losing my brother was devastating. Losing my mother was just a different level. Mm-hmm. It's hard to explain and put into words what I went through after I lost my mother. But a close second was when I was unemployed.
Wow.
And wondering whether or not I was going to have a job.
And what was the lesson for you, and what did you learn or develop in that time?
First thing I learned is that don't give a damn about popularity. A whole bunch of people knew me. Well, this is a double-edged sword to that. That means they knew I was fired. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was popular. That means when I got fired, I was popular.
Right. Popular, talked about.
They're talked about. Exactly. They're popular for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
So you can't give a damn about that. The other thing was, and the most important lesson, master my business. I thought popularity was people screaming my name in the streets. I paid little to no attention to revenue and ratings. I left that to other people.
Interesting.
So you know what that meant, Lewis? I didn't know my worth. I had no clue.
You didn't know your financial worth because you were like, well, people know me, they're talking about me, I'm on TV, so that's enough.
That's right. Exactly.
But you didn't understand the numbers, the bank account, the rent.
When you go to negotiate,
right.
Well, you offering me X amount of dollars. Well, I think I'm worth twice that much.
Yeah.
Well, why? Mm-hmm. How can you validate that? So.
You didn't know how to communicate that at the time.
I had no idea.
Right.
I was clueless.
You're just like, I'm just happy to be on TV. I got the popularity.
Again,
I'm getting
I talk about all of that in the book. And then I went, and let's just say this, fast forward less than 10 years later, after I had been back, because I returned back to ESPN 2 years after that, and I had gone through a couple of contracts. But by the time 10 years later arrived, and it was negotiation time, there was no emotion. Zero. Zero. It was like, these are my ratings. This is the revenue that I'm told I bring to the table.
Right.
Where's my money?
Right.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how I felt.
It's amazing.
And all of a sudden you become empowered because the industry has a right. Any industry has a right to speak their own language. You can't go before a judge in a courtroom, in a criminal courtroom, talking like an accountant. The accountant has his language. The criminal justice system has its language. The corporate justice system has its language. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The medical profession has its language. You have to speak that language. outside of speaking that language, you have to edify yourself to the point where you're having a conversation and you're looking people straight in the eye, devoid of any emotion. Because when you're talking numbers and facts, now they have to come at you with their own. And if they can't do that, then emotions infiltrate the proceedings. And once emotion infiltrates the proceedings, it only did that because you don't have the facts to back up the argument you were making.
Sure.
And if you don't have the facts to back up the argument that you wanted to make, so you divert to your emotions, what that means is you don't want to pay me. Now we get to the why would you not want to pay me?
Right.
If I'm bringing in this revenue.
Yeah.
In the world of business, you have people that have this mentality. You ever see these corporations and they talk about, well, you know, we got to lay people off because, you know, we're projected to lose this amount of money. Well, actually, you didn't lose money. You projected that you were going to make more than you actually made. You budgeted accordingly. You didn't meet that targeted number. Right. And so everybody around you have to suffer because your numbers were off. Right? And because of that, that might have led to you hiring people that didn't need to be hired, hiring an inordinate amount of people that didn't need to be employed, et cetera, et cetera. It could lead to a lot of things. But at the end of the day, the point is there's real losses and then there's projected losses. Sure. So when you're paying attention to all of these things, all of a sudden it empowers you because now you have an idea of what your worth is.
Right.
And it leaves you in a position of being able to make better decisions about what's best for you because you're able to depersonalize things. My problem back in the day was that I personalized. I got caught up in, I deserve this. I work 330 plus days out of the year. You got guys getting paid more than me that you paying. They work 100 days out of the year. They work 20 days out of the year.
You got emotional.
Yeah, and then you got emotional.
You didn't know the numbers.
And I didn't know. And again, sometimes the numbers are always arguable. They can fudge it. But the point is you have a ballpark idea of what those numbers are and what your worth is.
Yes.
And by virtue of that, when they come to you, you're able to negotiate. When ESPN came to me with my last negotiation, they shocked the living hell out of me.
With how low or how high?
It wasn't the number that I wanted. And I eventually got more.
Okay.
But the opening offer
was so low.
Was very respectable.
Oh, it was.
And I knew it.
So they shocked
I went like
you.
this. Well, this is lower, but damn, I didn't expect them to offer this much.
That's nice.
So all of a sudden it changed the whole tenor of things. Because I knew you respected.
You're not frustrated. You're not.
Not at all.
Yeah, you're like, okay.
Because it's like, okay, there's a negotiation that has to take place here, but this number is very respectable.
Yeah.
And the number was respectable enough for you because you didn't have to make me work for it.
Right.
If they had made me work for it, I would have walked. No one knows that.
Wow.
But I would have walked. Because after what I had been through, I'm perfectly fine if I have to make less now to get more on the back end, being in an environment that I think is fruitful and edifying for me.
Wow.
And the fact that they came with such a respectable offer at the very start completely disarmed me because now it's a fair negotiation.
Yes.
You're not insulting me. And because of that, that changed changed my whole complexion.
Yeah, you're like, I want to be here then.
I want to be here.
I feel like you want me here.
There we go.
I want to be here too.
There we go.
That's good.
There we go. And that's important because when you work as hard as I do, you expect to feel wanted.
100%.
You expect to feel wanted because you got to remember, we sign contracts. So understand once I sign my contract, as long as I show up to work every day and I honor my contract, I don't owe you anything.
Right.
I could win, I could lose. It doesn't mean anything. My number's guaranteed. But I don't play that way. I pursue number one at all times.
Yeah, you pursue the win.
And so I got my money and I could have rested on my laurels, but it ain't in me. And it was made considerably easier for me not to rest on my laurels because of how they opened those negotiations.
Wow.
The respect that they showed me made me say, I'm good here.
Wow.
I appreciate that.
That's good.
But it took that because I was planning on walking. Nobody knew that, but I was planning on walking.
From ESPN?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. It all came down to how you going to treat me because I knew that I had felt disrespected in the past.
Interesting.